So this is one of those stories that's really important, but it's going to get no burn in corporate media, and I mean none. So take a look at this. Common Dreams is reporting, Biden pushes Colombia to restart glyphosate spraying program. Experts, quote, the recently announced decision sends an unfortunate message to the Colombian people that your administration is not committed to abandoning the ineffective and damaging war on drugs internationally. So, yes, glyphosate, there's a number of studies that show that glyphosate causes cancer. And so, not too long ago, there was this move away as part of a peace agreement in Colombia. There was this move away from using glyphosate in the fight in the war on drugs. So Biden is now pushing Colombia to bring that back and start spraying glyphosate again. So that is going to have the unintended environmental consequences that are horrendous, but it's also going to have the unintended health consequences that we just talked about, where cancer rates are going to increase. Clearly, that's not a primary concern of his, but perhaps even more importantly, this is him doubling down on the worst aspects of the drug war. So we just covered the story recently about how 5 people who worked in the Biden administration who smoked legal weed, they were let go. They were fired. This is while Hunter Biden does every drug under the sun, and while Kamala Harris goes on one of the most popular radio shows in the country to talk about how she smoked marijuana. And by the way, he worked for Obama. Didn't Obama also admit not just doing marijuana, but doing cocaine? He was the VP for President Obama. This deep, deep, deep hypocrisy that they have. But this is him saying, no, that wasn't what I did the other day, was not some sort of oopsie, some sort of mistake. No, that was on purpose. I'm a drug warrior. And listen, this is his record. His record shows that. He was on the floor of the Senate arguing for incredibly tough on crime punishments, even for nonviolent drug offenders, for drug dealers. I mean, he had a famous clip where he was talking about, was it life in prison or was it the death penalty for drug dealers or people who do raves? I'm forgetting what's in the clip, but he went after raves. I mean, this is the kind of guy that Joe Biden is. He's actually, in many ways, deeply, deeply socially conservative and authoritarian. And the worst aspects of the drug war, he signed off on. He was a supporter of. And he's bringing back some of the worst aspects of the drug war. By the way, this is not how you eliminate cartel violence. This is not how you actually defeat drug use, if there even is such a thing, if you even can defeat drug use. The real way that you reduce cartel influence and violence and stranglehold on that black market economy is to not have it a black market anymore. Listen, if you legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, you know what happens? Legal businesses, legal grow operations pop up, and there's quality controls, and so violence is reduced drastically because there is no more black market. So when there's a dispute with a legal product, you go to court and solve it. When there's a dispute on the black market, it's solved with guns in the streets. So the problem is that it is a black market. You know, we've talked about this a number of times, and Dr. Carl Hart has alluded to it. One of the reasons why you have a spike in overdoses at any given time is not because of the substance in question, is because of what the substance is cut with. So in the case of opioids or heroin, people go to take what they've done a million times before, whatever their dose of heroin is, and it's cut with fentanyl, which is way more powerful, and then they die. They OD. Because the drugs were cut with something it shouldn't have been cut with. If there was quality control, that wouldn't happen. So you could reduce overdose deaths. You could reduce transmission of HIV through needle exchange programs. These things might not sound like appealing projects up front, but when you look at the results of handling a drug issue like adults, there is no doubt Portugal is by far and away the most successful on this front, and they've decriminalized all drugs. They haven't legalized, but they've decriminalized all drugs, and there's massive, positive effects as a result of that. Biden is doubling down on the worst aspects of the drug war. Bring back the glyphosate, which causes cancer. I mean, you can't say enough negative stuff about this. I would not go in this direction if I was him. I would legalize marijuana today. I would take it off the Schedule 1 list because it's the most insane thing ever that is still on there. And listen, at the very least, I would expect Democrats to want to decriminalize all drugs. Now, unfortunately, they don't want to, but that's at the very least. You guys know me, I would legalize, tax, and regulate all drugs. So, we're going to keep doing the wrong thing, and you need to understand the history of this stuff to really get how disastrous it is. Because a lot of these laws, I mean, it's not like a bunch of scientists sat around and said, which drugs are safe enough that we can legalize and which ones are unsafe? That's not how this was done, man. The history of the drug war is insane. I mean, opium, for example. We used to have opium dens in this country, but they were banned because it was mostly Chinese immigrants who were working on the railroads who were using the opium dens, and people were afraid that their white daughters would be corrupted and go to these opium dens. Seriously, if you read the history of this stuff, it's out of this world. You used to be able to go to the pharmacy and get heroin or morphine, you know? When you look at what the Nixon White House said, they admitted it. They said up front, yeah, the reason why we're doing the drug war is because who does drugs mostly? Hippie whites and minorities. Well, hippie whites and minorities are political enemies. They don't support us. They don't vote for us. Let's criminalize that lifestyle. This is on the record. This is on the record. And what does Joe Biden do? He does a crusade for that kind of ideology. That's what he does. A crusade. He's a drug warrior. And he's bringing back some of the worst aspects of the drug war. This is going to have no positive effects. If anything, the exact opposite is going to happen. Legalize, tax, and regulate drugs. And also, by the way, listen, fact of the matter is this. This is going to plunge a lot of people into poverty. People in rural Colombia, they're going to be plunged into poverty more so now because a lot of these people, they're involved in the drug trade as a matter of last resort out of necessity to be able to afford to live, you know? So it's just, there's nothing but negative stuff to say about this. From every angle and aspect, it's annoying and dead wrong. Environmental aspect, health aspect, poverty aspect, war on drugs aspect. It's as bad as it gets, and it's exactly what I'd expect from Joe Biden.